Hey everybody, Texas Stroker here, Lance's Performance Shop, Lone Star Mopars.com. That works much better with the lens cover off, at least for you, doesn't it? I thought so too. It's kind of a strange circumstance out here. I've got a couple of different videos we could film here tonight, and I'm kind of having to force my hand because I've got stuff that I bought for work that I need to take to work, or take back to work in some cases. So we're kind of going to go that route, and in this particular case, we're going Mac. The 7,500 subscriber special, as promised, is still in the works. And why? Because the items that I ordered have been absurd. I'm someone that plans in advance, okay? And there's an item. You know, let's just... let me do this, okay? Just so you have some eye candy, all right? This. I have wanted this particular hammer for a very long time. I'm talking like upwards of 2 years, okay? And Mac tool hauls, I think 1 and 2 is what we'll call them. You haven't seen them yet, and that's because they haven't even been filmed, and that's because I don't still have the items that I need to use for tool haul 1 and 2. There's some tragic stories there, some sad stories, some upsetting stories, some incompetent stories. It's all there, and you'll live all that out. If you've missed it somehow and come right here, I encourage you to go back, even though again they currently don't exist. But let's just flash back a little bit, all right? 2 years ago or so. We're still, you know, channel grows really slow. Why? Because it's an ancient channel. YouTube doesn't care about it. But I had it planned out. You know, I said 5,000, we do Matco, 7,500 Mac, 10,000 Snap-on, okay? This is an item I immediately identified that I wanted from Mac. And I've bought it, and I didn't get it. And I think I've told the story before. But essentially what happened is there's a promo, and for whatever backwards and archaic reason, I cannot tell you. You can go to Mac's website and you can find their current monthly flyer. Theirs is one of the easier ones to find to their credit. And you can see the current, you know, promo prices. You know, buy this, get a screwdriver free, whatever they've got going on. You can see it. And you can buy it, but you're not going to buy it with a promo or the sale price. So if this isn't even a promo, buy one, get one type of deal, it's just, hey, this is $20 off. You know, MSRP of $68, get it for $48. And you're thinking like, hey, I'm going to cash in. 20 bucks is 20 bucks. I wanted to try this. They don't have that. Like, if you go to KC Tool and they have like 10% off Knipex and the price is, you know, 10 bucks, when you add it to your card, it's like 9, right? It automatically applies. Maybe you have to enter a code on some sites, you know. Maybe it's automatically done for you. Like if, you know, Koken, DRPD, pretty much anyone. Snap-on, Matco. If there is a discount, like if Snap-on's flyer has a ratchet that's usually $180 on for $160, they never do anything crazy. It's like $165, and you're like, oh, $15 savings. If they do that, you can check out, and you can do that like I do at like midnight to 3 a.m., okay? You cannot do that with Mac. I could totally buy this hammer, but I'm not going to get the promo. So you basically have to call someone. There's nothing, no code, no special website, you know, like jumping through 4 pages and loopholes. You literally have to call them. If you don't have a dealer, or you can't track somebody down, your only way to get the promos, even though they're on their website in flyer form, is to call them. That's insane. This is 2023. The amount of business that they must lose on that, just either you call and are on hold, you don't get through to someone, it's too slow, you have to get back to work, or in my case, they're closed, right? There's a reason, you know, that I purchase tools at like 2 in the morning, and it's because that's when I have free time. Mac is not going to be there for me to call in and get their special, if you will. So, I finally, like, I really wanted the thing, and I was going to be like, you know what, it's cool, I'm going to go ahead and get it. Maybe I'll film something to have it for the 7,500, but I'll have, like, X amount of time used, and I can bring it back, throw it down on the table, and say, this is what it looks like after a year and a half, or 2 years, or whatever time frame it takes to slowly climb the ladder, right? And, I never got that opportunity. I took the time. The lady was super nice. Like, me and her talked. It took her a long time to like enter everything. We talked probably like 20 of the 22 minutes that I was on there, right? I had the part numbers, everything ready to go. Super, I mean, fantastic lady. You know, you could talk to her all day. The thing is, she turned my order in, everything's golden. It never came. Like a week later, I get an email. I'm like, sweet, you know, shipping notification, tracking number, let's go. They canceled my order. And this is, of course, after the promo's over. And it's like, you know what? I would have told you to wait. If you're going to tell me that, like, oh, it's not going to be in stock for 2 weeks, sir, I'd tell you to wait. If you told me, well, we're not going to have that for probably 3 months, I would have waited. Like, whatever time frame. You could tell me, oh, it could be 2 years, sir. It was a great deal. I wanted it. I'm willing to wait. And I never got that option, and I'm still salty about it. And I've held off from, like, calling in. It's very hard for me to get time during the day to do that. There's been a few promos like, man, I'd love to pull the trigger on that. I don't do it. Don't get time, and it's still, after all this time, and I can't be the only one that feels this way and complains about it. That is just archaic. Imagine, if you will, KC Tool has a Hazette super sale, 25% off everything, but you have to call in. Why? Like, you're going to take up time from your employees, or you're going to need to be packing orders or doing whatever other job descriptions they've got. It's cumbersome. Just put your computer. It's not like Mac isn't online. I'm going to their website and seeing the flyer, and they have all the stuff there for me to buy and have shipped anyway. Take the few extra seconds, even if it's like in the cart, like whatever, just do some things where people can buy that. You are losing sales with their current system. It's infuriatingly stupid. And I say that, I have nothing to gain if they ship more units, right? It's just like looking at it from a practical standpoint. If that was my business, it's nuts. Now, if it's like super small mom and pop, totally, you know, I could see it. You know, maybe they're like old school people, or you just don't have like the front office IT wizard to do that stuff. Okay. Like, Mac is huge. That's Stanley Black & Decker. They've got people that can handle that. If they don't, they can get some, you know. So it just insanity. But the good news, it's here now. And I tell you that story, I'm sure many of you have tried and experienced. Maybe you watch some dude, you know, the flyer videos, but I never understand why they get more views than tool hauls, but they do everywhere, every channel. Look it up if you don't believe me. It's crazy. But regardless, let's say that, you know, your 9th favorite YouTuber that does flyers uploads the Mac one, and you're like, whoa, you know, I want to get that ratchet and those wrenches. And then you find out that you've got to call it in. Like, you don't have a Mac guy. You had, you know, last time you heard of a shop that had one, it was like 1996, and no one's ever come back for more than 2 months or something. You have to call them. And that's so crazy. Just insanity. But you're thinking like, okay, well, cool, you at least got it. Well, it's kind of bittersweet. This was a promo. What with, I'll show you here in a second. But I've got to tell you, right here where there's kind of like the off red color, they now have that with orange or green. And you're like, man, it seems like you would have gotten orange. You're right. Or green, kind of depends. I've kind of got orange here, green, both places work, and here it's a long story, which can't really go into yet. But I also got this. And if you're thinking like, whoa, that's a cool bundle, you know, like, so it was like buy the sledge, get the drilling hammer for free. Was it like buy both, get them some percentage off? They were both free. And why is that important? That means we've got something else. It was obviously of higher value if they're giving these away. I think you're going to enjoy it. But before we get too crazy off track here, this is a 3-pound drilling hammer. This is, of course, Mac's Antivibe. You can find it in Proto as well. There's a couple of Stanleys that are Antivibe as well. Now, in terms of drilling and sledge, no. They're not going to do that. Stanley might have one. Don't hold me to it. But this is a 4-pound sledge. Do I have experience with Mac's Antivibe? Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that we have the Proto ball peen Antivibe. I have used the ever-living snot out of that. I have not had it long. A couple of months maybe at this point in time. And I wish I had it here. It would have been great for the video. It's sadly in the cart at work. So at some point in time, we'll kind of showcase it. I think I got the 24-ouncer. It's essentially the exact same aesthetics. Insert Proto in place of Mac. The catch with Proto, you're like, well, hey, dude, why don't you have a lot of Proto stuff? You like recall you like it, you know, and have sentimental value with Proto. Why don't you get these in Proto? They don't make them. Believe you me, like this is probably 60 and I don't know, 80, something crazy like that for these hammers. The Proto equivalent with a discount I could pull off on Zorro, I could probably get out the door for like 40-ish. You know, the thing is, they do not have them. You literally can't get them. Maybe at some point that'll happen. I would typically tell you if you want these and you don't have a Mac guy, just buy the Proto equivalent. Can't tell you that here because they don't have a Proto equivalent. The big selling point, if you've wanted to try these and you can't catch them on a promo, you're just like, hey, I got to try that drilling hammer. I can see why you were enamored with it. I've heard good things from friends and coworkers and online, etc., etc. Be aware that you can get it in orange or green. And when I say orange or green, it's literally just, it's not like the handle special or, you know, change of pace, just orange and green. A lot of people seem to think these are made in Mexico. As best as I've always known, they're made in Taiwan. That's what these tags are going to say. But this little guy right here, you can see the part number DH193AV. Mac's own flyer leaflet, which is taped here to the handle. Patented design reduces shock and vibration. Note that it does not say it eliminates it, but it reduces it. That's important. That's a caveat you need to be aware of. Coming around to the back side, they do have some sort of scientific chart. I would love to see that, like, investigated. If I had money to buy crazy testing equipment, this is one of the things I would do. Why? Just because I enjoy it, and I think other people might too. Right there, though, bottom line, you can see made in Taiwan. So, this will get a good comparison for you in a second. Note, Mac is only on one side, the Antivibe only on one side. The handle feels really good. This is not quite balanced like I would like. I'm not saying it's unbalanced, it's just like it's kind of load shifted more than I would like. This thing, if you hold down at the base of the hammer, right, the knob of the handle, it is very, very top heavy, which of course you would expect from a sledge. I'm used to the work sledges, which are like custom handles and stuff, like metal handles, and they're a lot bigger, but they're also like, they just balance better, right? I think since it's like a one-hand sledge is probably the deal. I'm used to like a two-hander, you know. But again, this guy right here I'm excited about, and hey, it was free anyway with what we were getting. So SH4AV, as you can see, 4-pound Antivibe sledgehammer. Faces seem pretty legit. It seems like the Proto had like a grinding blemish on it, basically just like a high spot they didn't knock down somehow. Just kind of crazy when you think about it. But really nice luster. Again, these aren't terribly priced standalone. They're a little bit higher, much higher than you could get something like this. I love this hammer. This is my drilling hammer here at the house. I had used it quite a bit, and then I started using it a ton when I had to shape some pipe. I got some shipments where like the ends were either crushed in or like expanded, and you basically have to either expand out or reduce down, and that's, you know, you slowly get better at it, but like when you've never done that before, yeah, it takes some time, and that means you're swinging this a lot. And that's really, I was using this so much, I'd used it a lot, but it was like, hammer, hammer, done, you know, come back, hammer, hammer, maybe it's a part or I'm stamping something. It was never like continuous use, you know, for like 20 minutes until you're tired of your ears ringing, and 20 minutes after that when you're tired of like the earmuffs you put on making you sweat profusely and it burns your eyes. Doing it for like really long extended amounts of time, I was like, you know, I wonder if that Antivibe would be better. And I'm going to tell you right here again, it does not prevent shock and vibration. It reduces it. Gloves like these Alphas, which you can save 20% on, and I just still don't make jack if you do that. Discount code Lone Star Alpha Gloves, which you'll note that's one of the selling points here. This pad, this isn't just like crazy stitching. There's a pad here, here, and here. It's designed for use with an impact, or in this case, a hammer. Reduces fatigue. Again, if you're stamping your initials in like two sides of an engine block, not a big deal, right? If you're sitting there and you're stamping production numbers in piece after piece after piece, it becomes a bigger deal, and it's where you might spend more money on gloves or a hammer. So just this one, it's balanced better, man. I don't know how to tell you without you being here, but you can see right there, brand new face versus well-loved and used face. Of course, I hammer indiscriminately. We cannot have muscle imbalances, and we cannot have hammer face imbalances. So, do we cycle between blows? No, we do not, but just basically whatever side I grab is what I'm going to swing with. So, you know, that's how that works. But the Estwing has a little bit more surface area. I don't know that that's going to convey super well, but just if you line these circles, you know, the central point up, this one has a little bit more surface area. That's a win in my opinion. The blue and yellow, I actually do like that color scheme better than the MAC. Again, this wouldn't be like, this is great for work, aside from like my personal cart. Like, just if this was bought for work, this would be pretty killer. Personal preference, I take this guy. Note the yellow, you actually can't tell, can you? It's pretty dirty, but I don't know if the camera's going to pick up on it, but trust me, if you were here, there's like a dark region. I could essentially polish this in front of you and it would be a more vibrant yellow. Okay, so whatever this cap came off of, right, it's essentially that same color. This just has metal dust, if you will. So don't actually have a sledge here to show you. All sledges I've ever used are at work. So this one, I don't know if I'm going to keep it at home or if I'm going to take it to work, to be honest with you. This I think I'm going to take back to work because I think I'll keep this here, although I could switch. Something about it, you know, like this is 3 pound, this is 3 pound, but just the way this one's structured, the MAC almost feels slightly more top heavy. But I think that, I know it kind of seems like we're bashing this. I have not gotten to use it. That's the big thing. I think I'm really going to like it. I'm just telling you, like, if this is too much money and you don't have like some sweet promo with something you're going to buy, consider something like that, you know, or try another one. You can get hammers, American-made hammers, for really good competitive prices. If you stay away from tool truck branding, okay, you can get something like this for a very, very good price. I think I got this for like $20 several years ago, yes, but it gives you an idea. I'd be shocked if you couldn't go buy this right now for like 30-ish, 35. So essentially like double, you know, because again, you're putting the name and the convenience, as some people like to say. So that's to be debated. But yeah, this is ultimately like, to do a comparison between these two, I need some seat time with this guy, but feels pretty legit in hand. Again, this one I think I'm a bad judge of, because again, all the sledge hammers I've ever used are two-hand hammers, like unless I'm just really choking up. I mean, I've never measured the thing, but it's probably a 3+ 4 foot. I think there's probably one longer than that handle on it, you know. So this is kind of a different setup for me. I'm sure I'm gonna see what I think of it, but I just don't know if this is gonna stay here or go to work. It honestly might be more useful here. I'm thinking like if I drove rebar in the ground, like sometimes I do that, like this would be a pretty legit setup. You'd almost be better off with a drilling hammer there, because I could hold the rebar and hit it much easier. I guess if I choke up on this one, I could. If I could start with that and drive with that, maybe that's the best scenario. I don't know. But yeah, these were free, so that is a win. Why were they free? Well, for $290, yeah, I know, it's expensive. It's the territory you get into with this stuff. $290 got me both of these and an item that I would crush my foot with as it knocks something else over. Definitely not be able to showcase. Right here, this is their part number, PBS 4CG. And I'll tell you right now, the G might have to do with the color. And right here, you can hopefully see in the old school MAC font and everything, you've got a 4-piece screwdriver pry bar set. And you can see hopefully that they are green. If you're thinking like, green? Why didn't you do blue? Well, they don't make blue. I have to say, blue on these Antivibes would look killer. Especially like a not a light blue, like sky blue. No, stay away from that. But like this PB Swiss shade or darker, that would be an aesthetic dreamboat, I will tell you, at least for me personally. But same thing here, I'd love to have blue, but I went with green, and there's a reason for that. One, they don't have blue. Two, I kind of have orange here at the house. I've got blue here at the house too. You're thinking like, idiot, take your blue ones to work. Well, I think I've covered. I kind of replicated my Mayhew Dominator set because I oftentimes need the same length bar either to pry up something cylindrical, which I do at work a ton, or you know, it's very difficult to use like an 8-inch pry bar that's perfectly sized and then try to come in with a 17. You know, sometimes you do not have the clearance to do that, so doubling up is very feasible. This right here, and you know, some of you are like, these are made by Mayhew. You should have known that. You've wasted all your money. Well, here's my one complaint with the Mayhew Dominators. The handles feel fine, you know, like here on a bench test and everything, and they're fine, you know, as I'm under the truck prying around or, you know, lifting things I shouldn't be using to lift with. But when my hands are either A, really sweaty, which happens, it gets stupid hot in here, or B, covered in something, insert your substance of choice. At work lately, hydraulic oil. Here at the house, oil, antifreeze especially. Any automotive fluid of your choice, anti-seize, sweat. It's a situation where I'm slipping on those handles. This is legitimately my only complaint with the Mayhew Dominators from Mayhew, and those are actually issued in multiple colors. Obviously, they've got green, they've got their default red, they've got orange, they've got blue, and again, they're great pry bars, great price, American made. But when you are in those scenarios, the handles leave a little to be desired. So when this promo came up, keep in mind, I'm a guy who's been burned multiple times trying to get this hammer. When the new flyer came out, which has now since expired, I think this was flyer 10 2023. When this came out and I saw that this was free, with this free, which again I wasn't like super, that was nothing I would have bought. Like if I just had to buy everything from Mac, I would not have brought this in. But when it's like I get the drilling hammer I've been wanting and a sledgehammer, it's like, and you can sit there and you can price this out and then add these to it, and you basically, it's like you save 100 and you take away this if you didn't really want it, and you're still saving a little. But this was kind of a deal where I wanted pry bars at work. Currently I'm hoping I can use this long one to lift a 1,000-foot spool of cable just a little bit. I don't know that it's gonna do it. When these got dropped off Friday by the Mac guy, I was like, you know what, I'm carrying it and it's pretty, you know, decent size. It goes way like from here back, you know, but I was like, you know what, I think I need like a 5-footer realistically to attempt. Really, you need 2 of them to do it safely. It's really not a safe thing to do, but I'm trying to come. I could do it with a forklift, but I don't want to like crush the cable. You know, I'm trying to rack it in a real slot. It's like not going well for me. So it's kind of like a 2-man 2 pry bar deal. Maybe we could, you know, prop her up. I don't know. But that's another story for another day. But this came about with the 2 hammers, and I thought, let's do it. Let's just make it happen. And the reason for that is the handle. So that's the big deal now. If you are using your pry bars for things where your hands aren't like dirty or slippery, maybe they're filthy. Like, I mean, I could be covered in metal dust and shavings and grinding crud, but that's going to actually add the tactile feel, right? You know, it might get embedded and be annoying, but it's not going to slip. I would stay away from these or any other one because you save so much money just buying direct from Mayhew, and they've got good colors. But I am very, very excited about the handles. And with that said, I've actually got to take out, like, I don't even know how many staples. I'll do that. I'll get these out. We'll probably showcase the short guys and then the handles on the longer ones. This 4-piece set is essentially the 8, a 17, a 25, and a 36. I personally would have loved like a 12 or a 13-incher in there too. That said, the 36 is a big deal. If you get something like this, or you're like, man, he's right, I bought that same promo deal, got mine in red, I wish I had a bigger one. The Icon Pry Bar, and you don't have to buy it. I'm just telling you, it's around $100 and it's 58. It is made by Mayhew. I know, it's at Harbor Freight. And you're thinking, that's crazy. It is. This is made by Mayhew. You know, and if you aren't concerned about matching or brands or the handle, that is a very economic. The majority of people aren't going to use a 5-foot pry bar very frequently, okay? If you have one, it's probably because you use it or you're like, that's really cool. I'm going to hang that on the wall or put it in the back of my hutch and it's going to sit there and collect dust, but it'll look cool. Every once in a blue moon, you know, the average guy might be like, hey, you know, that 5-foot pry bar might do this, and boom, you know, you lifted up the tree stump or something. Congratulations. So that's where you can kind of like cut back and not spend a ton of money on a tool truck and just get like the generic equivalent. Again, if you want it kitted out the same, I totally understand. It's your money, do what you want to, but that's an option direct through Mayhew. Sometimes the big jumbo pry bar from Harbor Freight, the El Cheapo, it's been pretty good. Now, if I knew what I was doing and there were certain situations, I might be a little leery of it, but I'll tell you, I've done some sketchy stuff with that one and it's been decent. Now, that said, jumbo in that case is not anywhere near 5 feet. So give me a little bit of time. I'll get some prices on this and I'll get all these staples out so you don't have to sit through that. All right, I ran under the truck and retrieved some things to showcase here with these, but before I forget, I kind of want to go over the pricing on this. It may have actually not been a buy one get one free. You're like free with the purchase of the things. Right now, MSRP on this particular set would be $239, if I'm not mistaken, which is kind of crazy. I think it was less than that. Keep in mind, it was like a month or two ago. But if you add them all up individually, you've got the 8-inch is $37, your 17-inch is $61, the 25 would be $85, and then your 3-footer is going to be $145. So you can kind of see the math there. You come out better with a set. There is a 3-piece set if you like wind up loving the look of these handles or want to try them out or something, don't want to just like get an individual to prototype. $185, not a terrible price for a 12, 15, and 31-inch. Note they kind of change the sizes up on you. But the hammers themselves, we were pretty close on this little drilling guy. $69 and then $82 for the sledge. So those two alone, you're essentially looking at what? 81's $150, if you will. So $150 plus what's basically a, at this point in time, $240 set of pry bars, $390, $100 off, $290. So do with that what you will. I'll also tell you there are only 6 staples on here, and there was one out of 6 that actually had functioned correctly and hadn't torn under the weight of the pry bars. So have not taken this off, haven't experienced it, haven't done anything behind the scenes nefarious. I'll tell you right now, at work, in the cart, there's nowhere to put this tray. The tray needs foam, like really bad, if you're gonna use it. You would also need to put this in a drawer, a long drawer. You'd need like a, 40+ inch toolbox set up to do so. So you'd have to sacrifice one of your like full length ones. For me in the cart, the hope is that the 3-footer fits. If it doesn't, we might change things up. But essentially the way this tray is, which let me... Where's the Stanley? I can never find the thing. We've got it over here. I'm going to try to measure backwards. I would always go top down. We're going to go bottom up in this case. Flipped numbers, if you will. But just so you know, this is a pretty efficient tray in terms of like the 3 up at the top. You're going to call that like 37 1/4, all right? If you've got 37 inches of space, you can probably collapse the ends. If you've got 38 plus, you can fit this with a little gap, all right? That's important for some of you if you like the drawer setup. Coming in, let's get the width for you. That's not really going to be the big issue for anyone. It's going to be the length. Let's call that like 6 1/4. So again, 6.5, 7 inches. If you've got that, you'll have a little cushion space on the end. The way it's structured, you're going to have your 36 in this slot. I tell you this because you can't see the ends, obviously. 25, and then if I flip this for the OCD people, we're going to have our 17. Note the way these are oriented. If I can slide this up a little, you'll hopefully see here there's like a slot depression. You'll want to utilize that to store it. If you were to flip this over like that, obviously still flush, but it could be an issue. Also pay attention to these shanks, right? If you're like, whoa, that looks way beefier than that, and that actually looks a little bigger than this guy. They are different sized shanks. Haven't compared across the board to Mayhew, but that is something occasionally. Let's say a Dominator set had like 1/4 inch shanks, okay? The tool truck equivalent, maybe it's a little beefier than that. Again, check your specs before you order. But what we will do is grab this guy. You can't really see it. Let me kind of highlight the whole package tray. So there's the end in both corners. If I run you through it, keeping on right there. You kind of got like your dead space, and you've got an 8-inch there. I sort of think they could fit the 12 off in here if they really wanted to. Kind of have a 5-piece, but right there you got the Mac Tools logo. Again, that's only really important if you're going to use this to store them. You could also just place these in the box, or you could have maybe toolbox widgets or something kind of around the shafts. I don't know that you're going to fit that, to be honest with you. That's a possibility. I feel like this and smaller you'd be home free, but here we go. This is kind of a big deal to me because it's a little 8-inch guy now. There is an 8-inch set that's curved. This would be considered curved and straight, but this is what I want to know is the handle. Sadly, I had to order these without investigating. I asked a few people, I'm like, hey, are those handles, you know, like a different material? I was thinking, I didn't want this to be like cushiony soft, but I wanted it to be soft, not because of a comfort desire, but because of a slip desire, if that makes any sense to anyone. The thing is, this is superior to the default Mayhew in my opinion, just because of the finger slots and this. And I say that again as somebody who has sweated and had those handles slip. But right here, this little 8-inch, honestly, I kid you not, if you buy this set, a big set, a larger set, you think, yeah, it's going to be great. Very seldom will you use that. The one that you'll probably find yourself using the most is the little one. It's just the way things work. I know from experience. You're like, yeah, 36, 25, 48, 31. And you wind up using like this 18 and 12. You know, it's just the way things go. So I will tell you, if you are intrigued by this because you've got, say, a 3-piece set or a ginormous down to slightly smaller, and this appeals to you, there is the 2-piece set, I think, for $70. That would be insanely handy, and you'd have straight and curved, plus you'd get to try the handles that way. It's very hard to take people's word on handles unless you like know the person, or say on my channel I'm like, oh yeah, that's better, and someone goes out and tries it, like, yeah, he's right. And then maybe I tell you like, oh, I like the Hizet 9. You're like, yeah, the Hizet 9 16 HP is epic. You know, and eventually you can vet me and you're like, I agree with like almost everything this guy says. Similarly, some of you might get the 2-piece set and be like, I hate that handle. This sucks compared to the default. He's crazy. And then you go buy the Hizet 9 16, you're like, heck no. You know, I can think of 19 ratchets I like better than that thing. You gotta kind of, at some point, you know, if you, especially for those of you that don't have a Mac truck, you know, maybe the dealer split town, maybe he's gone out, maybe he's chased out because everyone defaulted type of a thing. It's sort of hard to, like, you just have to buy blindly. It sucks, it's risky, and you have to do it economically. My advice would be to wait for a promo type of a thing, or if this is something that you're like, yeah, that's going to be sweet, go to town. Now, if you're familiar with Mayhew's Dominators, this is essentially that with a different handle and different branding, right? Different color as well. If you're thinking like, oh, they cheaped out. No, these are striking cap. It just fits the design scheme, so they're black. They're not like a silver like some cheaper ones. No hanging hole. That might be a downer for some of you, especially on a size like this. But you also have to think, well, it's built well, so the tang should extend through, right? So that is something on these 8s. If they took off, you know, you could make one where maybe tang goes through and then narrows, and you can sort of like fish hook something, or maybe include a hanger. Although with 8, I guess it wouldn't be killer deal, because you could fit even a plastic tray pretty easy in most drawers. So just thinking out loud there, you can magnetize the ends, whatever. So this is, I'm just spinning it around constantly, getting a feel for it. Left hand approved, gloved hand. Yeah, so let me show you kind of what I'm talking about, right? This orange one is relatively new. This is, I believe, a 12-incher, right? So she got a little wear on her, but this is not a terrible handle. It just gets, like I said, slippery. You'd have this like anti-slip here, but the problem with a pry bar for me is sometimes, yes, I'm up here, but in certain situations, like underneath the truck, I'm not really holding there. That's going to minimize my leverage. My hand is here, okay? Because I've got this wedged up, you know, and I'm prying and trying to reshape something. And so as you do that, this area here, which is nice and well thought out for gripping and holding and, you know, not slipping, I'm down here. And, now in some situations, yeah, you know, I'm going to be holding it and I'll be chiseling under wood and then come in and pop it off type of a deal. This would be great. But it's those times that I'm out here trying to get like max leverage. And sometimes, again, you know, like to do so, you're sort of off over here away from the intended zone of use, if you will. So you have to factor all that in. And I think you can see it maybe a little better on the blue guy. Actually, the font has held up surprisingly well. This one obviously used a bit more because we've had it longer. Use the striking cap some. These actually don't show a lot of wear. I've noticed that with my pry drivers, but you can tell these guys get used, and they get used hard. But it's a situation where, like, if this had sweat trails, or you were here when it was happening, like my hand is slipping off the back end. It kind of contours and tapers that way, which again is great when you're over here and it's using it like a utensil, a fork or a spoon. It's bad when you're back here trying to sort of get maximum leverage. It's rare that you're, you know, daintily doing anything. It's more you can't get here and you're on this end just shimming. And as I mentioned, I'll use these in tandem, and then when you're doing that and you kind of have your arms stretched out on a creeper, it just exasperates things. So enter the MAC style handle, and where it does taper down, I don't know how to explain it, and I will have to try it. This might turn out to be better, but see how that design just like sheds your hand off? This is contoured more like a screwdriver, but it's this. Okay, we've got this little recess where the green striping is. That's what I'm referring to as this zone between my index finger and thumb. That's kind of just contoured down, right? It's a natural resting landing spot for your thumbs, fingers, hands, so on and so forth. These are finger grooves. It's almost like this Gador pistol grip style, right? You come in, it's just contoured to the fingers. That is kind of working to give me a little bit more grip on the back side, but also note that it's simply not tapered. If this didn't have the taper there, if it was like, which it looks cool aesthetically, but if this was just a screwdriver style handle that just came out and terminated at the cap, I think it would be better. Like the Gador is not a great example. Where's that little filo? I think it's under this tray. I was using it in those Stavilla pliers to get the staples out, but you know what I'm talking about. Like if this was just squared off, like you naturally run down the handle, right, in that shape. And with this, it's less likely to happen. So the bottom line, I want to try these and experience them, but if they look similar, they should, because they originate with Mayhew. I don't know, maybe MAC puts their own handles on, maybe they don't. You do get the part number there, it's just etched in. Let's see here. Sadly, no made in the USA is on there. Well, that's a bit of a buzzkill. Is it on the handle? No. Crazy. I would have thought they would have put that. Interesting. Also, just noticed on this top side, I'm calling it the top because it's going to kick up for the tray storage. You have the MAC logo, kind of silk screen with the black. Over here, you're like, whoa, no logo, that sucks. Well, there is actually a logo. It's just a deal where it's in the handle, right? So what I want to do now, again, there's sadly not a 12-inch here for me to compare and contrast. But I want to grab the next shortest guy, which is a 17. Yeah, I do like this handle. It's not a huge change, but it is significant, again, particularly for what I was referencing. Strange! Check this out. Okay, so I wasn't expecting on showcasing this. I obviously hadn't opened these prior, but got the nice logo there. Nothing. That you're thinking like, no, it's got to be there. No, it's not. So that means we've got to check them all now, dadgummit. I am trying to wrap the video up in some sort of a normal speed by my standards. This one, nothing. That kind of sucks. Not that it matters a ton. It's not going to affect the performance of the tool, but it does suck. No made in USA either. I think that was a missed opportunity on Mac's end. Now, note on this one, you're getting to the size where I would have loved to have seen Mac continue this rib pattern for the reasons we've covered. Okay, this one stopped about where my index finger is, giving you a little bit. That 8" is like the perfect design. If they would have just extended that up, I get it. Most of the time you're going to be prying, you're just going to have the bar and this is your full handle. Some situations you're back here and I don't know, this right here might not be a huge step up from the Dominator default handle there. I wish again just that this would continue down. If they like revise their handle, they need to continue that pattern all the way down for grip. Okay, you could even pass it off as safety if you wanted to justify it or had to get past the bean counters, you know, mitigate lawsuits, something along those lines. So yeah, this has a really good feel to it. I'm balancing it quite well from the back end of the handle, holding it up here much better, as you might expect. But again, nothing crazy shank wise, and here again, no Mac logo. That's insane. Same thing, just exasperated a bit more. Extend this rib design up the handle. Again, if you think, oh, well, that's going to ruin comfort for people. No, it's not. In this situation, if you've got this hand free, you're going to be teetering. It makes sense to have that. So that's my recommendation. Ultimately, as with virtually everything, I just need time. I need to get these to the point where they look like these. And then I'll know, like, yes, what a great purchase. Or, man, I could have saved a whole lot of money just buying the Dominators and getting an Estwing, you know, or even getting the Antivibe drilling hammer. Keep in mind, this guy was basically my freebie, the way it would pan out. If you took that set at, what was it, $240, and this hammer at $69, that would be $309. So I saved $19 and got this for free under that guise, if you want to view it that way. So it's a decent deal. It's just going to depend how well, and at work, I feel like these two small ones will be the most used as well, but I will be way more likely to use the big ones. So maybe there will be utility in that price point. But yeah, once I can get the Macs in a state of use like these two, I think we'll be good. Tip on this blue one, which again is the oldest, it looks really bad from this side, but right there on the flip you can see, like, hey, it's still ground very nicely. So yeah, those are my little Dominators, and again, just kind of a size comparison while we're here, and color as well. So our 12-inch Dominators by the 17-inch Mac, very similar. The Mac's just a little bit taller. Shanks look like they are going to be the same. Again, I don't have my big Dominators over here to compare the larger sizes. I'm guessing since it's Mayhew, they likely just follow protocol. The real winner in this set, sadly for me, I think, is going to be this guy. And I say sadly because I could buy the two-piece set for $70, straight in the curve, but this one, again, just slightly under the length of a standard Dominator handle. Keep in mind, 12-inch Dominators, 8-inch Mac. But again, the way this one fits, they started right at the ring and they ended right before the tip. I would be fine with it extending and stopping here. I just wish that would have followed suit on the others. Again, you know, if you get to jump on the truck and feel this stuff out for yourself, you might be able to be like, hey, I'm going to get the 25, a 12, and then sell me that two-piece, you know, 8-inch set. Or you could be like, man, these handles kick butt. Sell me the biggest set you have, and then everything past that, you know, and all the missing pieces. Pry bars are great, you know, kind of depends what you're doing, how often you're going to use them, how much you'll want to spend. Again, I've done some sketchy stuff with Harbor Freight pry bars. I'm still alive. The pry bars are still intact. This right here, Mayhew, I'm a little bit more trusting of it. So when I talked to the Mac guy, I was like, you know, yeah, man, those handles just, they kind of get, you know, slippery when wet type of a deal. And you know, he said, well, hey, if you ever have issues with these handles, they're warranted. So I guess he's going to be that type of a guy, you know, probably pretty good and prompt with warranty stuff. But yeah, this is perfect. And I just wish every other one of these had that contour run up. So case in point, you can kind of see, same deal, and then this has black inserted. That's going to exasperate the larger you go. I wish this had like another 1 or 2 thumbs, you know, finger grooves, whatever you want to call those. I think that would be the bee's knees for these. So ultimately, we'll just have to use them and see. I think this one's going to be super cool. If I like this, I'll make a point to use this one at work. If I like it, I might buy the 2-piece set, hopefully on sale or promo, and get the orange ones in for the cart, because I want to do this solid for you. Online colors always suck. They're never accurate. Sometimes they are, but you can never trust them. You know what I mean? This goes back a long time. This is not from a Mac tool haul I haven't filmed or anything. This is like stuff we bought years ago. Evidenced by these blades having USA on them if I turn it around. But what I asked the guy when I called him, you know, and ordered these, I was like, hey, you know, is that green similar to the old Mac grip drivers, or is it, you know, changed up any? And he's also one of those guys that's like, a color's a color, you know, green is green, which, yeah, that's not really how I roll. But in the event, like, some people that are green people love this. They want the sublime type of a color, right? Other people, when they say green, they prefer like an emerald green, right? Something along those lines, a Kelly green. This is going to be fairly true to form, but I would say this one's got a bit more green. This is almost side by side. This is almost more of like a high-vis green, and I would consider this more of like a sublime. If I take this away, you could easily call this like sublime green. But again, slightly more green, and then just for your viewing pleasures, I grabbed the Matco, which would be like a true green. You know, like some green tool people might hate this, but it's like green. You know what I mean? And then again, just because we can, and it might help some of you, we'll get the Stavilla. So the Stavilla and the Matco. Stavilla is a bit more dark of a green than Matco, and these are honestly in order. This is like high vis, okay, color of a green. This would be like sublime, this would be green, and this could be like dark green if you want to go that route. But it's important to me to showcase that, because when I watch videos or try to watch videos about this stuff, if I have a constant, if I have these Matcos or a coworker does, or I'm like, I've got a Stavilla 3K I brought in to test out, I can be like, okay, so it's going to look different than that. Or in the case of this Mac, it's just ever so slightly lighter than this handle done by Mayhew, presumably. So, and like I said, it could be Mac making the handles and they just put Mayhew bars in. Don't know the particulars there. If you do, feel free to leave a comment down below. Similarly, if you've used Mac pry bars with these handles, what do you think of them? What did you have prior to them? Are you still using them, or did you switch? Maybe you like Matco's colors, maybe you like Snap-on's handle style. Maybe you sold these off and you took the money from your used set of pry bars and you bought some Harbor Freights and you haven't looked back. Maybe you got, you know, like another American brand. Maybe you picked up Mayhew Dominators, you know, and just saved all that money when you realized it was the tool truck equivalent, right? It is strange, though, that that is the one handle, the smallest one, which you'd think would be the least likely, has the Mac logo there, and none of the bigger ones do. Interesting stuff. I know it's really hard to see that, but you can trust me, right? I think you can. Geez, it casts so much light back at the camera, it's kind of hard to tell. But I think you can tell Mac is there. And obviously you can on this front. So anyway, that's all I got for you. This was essentially what I think is going to be Mac Tool Haul 3. Again, why? because 1 and 2 stuff still isn't here, shockingly. So that said, I want to do them in the order I had planned. This stuff is here. I brought it home. I'm going to take it back to work Monday, call it good. So yeah, the main thing, if you're a big proponent of these two Antivibes, let people know what you think of them, how they compare to others. Again, I wish I had the Proto ball peen here. I could show you the wear on it. It's held up very good, but you can definitely tell she's been used. And then the Sledge, again, that's just kind of out of my wheelhouse. We'll start using it, see what we think. And then ultimately with these, I just have to get some seat time. And my real reason, like I said, for going that route wasn't just the drilling hammer kind of thrown in. It was, I slip off the back of these. Even with gloves, these get really like slick. It's hard to tell now because they're not wet. But I did have the orange one, I think was in antifreeze. Yeah, it was antifreeze, which that's understandable, but you wipe it off and then it's still there and whoop. It's like a cartoon strip, right? So yeah, these are a little spindier. The handle is the big difference there. Maybe the sets and the links are slightly switched around, but for fractions of the price, you can go with Mayhew Dominators direct from Mayhew. And I think most people are going to be very happy. Just beware if you having to operate down here, this design lends itself to slipping off. If you're never going to do that, or very seldom, there's really not much wrong with them. But with that said, that's what we did. Mac Tool Haul 3. Finally got that freaking drilling hammer. Got a free sledgehammer, and we got a 4-piece set of pretty cool looking pry bars. And we'll see. I'm confident in the pry bars. I'm pretty sure I know how they're going to hold up. I just hope I like the handles better. So one last thing I think I can do, and then I'll let you go. All right, so card at work's going to be very similar to this. And the end goal, of course, would be to have that long pry bar go in the back slot, which is currently not, and the lid be able to shut. Well, the Dominator set, orange, blue, they're identical. I can get both of those in. Obviously, the 12s are out, so I use this slot, and it fits beautifully. I was very excited, but as we go up, check it out. You're that close to making it happen. It's just ever so slightly too tall, which sucks and could change things. Maybe I really like my blue ones, you know, is what I've had the longest. Maybe I'll switch them, have the Macs here. I don't know. But, that sucks. That's something to keep in mind. This is a US General Master Tech, if you're unaware. So maybe you could fit it in your cart if it's a little bit taller. This is a pretty tall cart, though. Again, it fits beautifully in the slot. There's tons of space there. It's just it's a little too tall, and I do mean we're talking like a thumbnail type of a deal. So that sucks, but hey, now you know. That's another thing. Again, I like to go the extra mile, and some of you might be like, yeah, I'm going to love that, put it in my US General, laugh all the way to the bank with the money that I saved, you know, getting that cart instead of something else. You won't be putting this pry bar in it, sadly. On the side, sure, you know, sideways, angled somewhere maybe, but not here where you'd probably want it. So, yeah. That said, hope you enjoyed the video. Again, your first-hand feedback always appreciated, not only by myself, but by others watching the video. So you've got years and years of experience. Tell people, let them know your thoughts. With that said, LoneStarMopars.com is the website. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all three at Lone Star Mopars. If you're curious about that little orange thing in the back, fear not. That's one, a little 5-inch cutoff piece, but when I do my nephew's oil, I actually put a 24 millimeter, a 13 for the drain, and a 10 for his underbelly pan. So yeah, that works perfect, and they're all big 1/2-inch drive sockets, but they fit on a 5-inch rail. Go figure. Anyway, that's that. Mac Tool Haul 3. Very excited to finally get that stupid drilling hammer. I hope it's good, and can't wait to use it. Can't wait to use the pry bars, really. That's going to be a big one for me. But with that said, I'll quit rambling. Thank you so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned a little something. Last but not least, if you haven't subscribed, I encourage you to do so. If you jump your charger across the creek, ring the bell, grab your MAC 4-piece Pry Bar Set, take it out of the glove box, or you somehow have custom holes cut, swing it around and hit Boss Hogg's hat off his head. YouTube just might notify you. We've got new videos every Wednesday and Saturday. 9 a.m. Texas time. And with that said, let me know your thoughts on this stuff. I hope to catch you back here for more action from the shop.